So that we are back. Welcome back to Turkey. Nigel Richards is through to the semifinals. All of the other Division A matches have gone 1-1, and so we're showing you Brett Smitheram against Paul Gallen. The winner of this match will advance to play Nigel.
Uh, Hi, this is
Yeah.
Harshan. I was the finalist this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just rotating commentary. So I was obviously in the situation last year, so I know how these two players are feeling, and I suspect that they're both feeling
Mm-hmm.
extremely nervous and stressed.
Yes.
We saw Brett pacing around the room before
Mm-hmm.
this match, so there's some evidence of
Yeah.
him feeling it, and I think it'll be really really interesting to see how these two
Mm-hmm.
players handle the pressure.
Yeah.
Basically, I think that
Yeah.
that will be very interesting.
Yeah, and from what Brett has said of Paul and outside conversations, I know that he really respects Paul's game, and Paul has a really solid game, and so this is going to hopefully be a really interesting match.
I would
Yeah,
say that they're both brilliant players.
yeah,
I would probably say Brett's got the slight edge in terms of word
yeah,
knowledge, but Paul's probably got a better temperament. That would be my
yeah,
my personal
yeah,
opinion.
yeah, um, yeah, yeah. The winner does play Nigel. Yes. Also, yes, I reminded Brett that well, Brett's picked up a blank straight off, so
So
that
Brett's
might help.
starting. They drew to see who would start this game. So Brett's thought process right
Yep.
now is he would want to
Yep.
make absolutely sure that there's no seven on this rack. And once
Yeah.
he makes
Yep.
sure of that, then he'll move on to thinking about what the best non-bingo
Yep.
play is. That's going to be his thought
Yep.
process. So Brett's
There's no.
word, as I said, Brett's a natural anagrammer,
Mhm.
so it won't take him at all
Yeah.
very long to exclude a
Yeah.
bingo,
Mhm.
basically. And you can see that now he's
Yeah.
moved on. He's
Yep.
immediately
Okay.
he cycled. I mean, he's cycled through the
Yeah.
blank.
And it's you can see this is Abato or Abato minus the I or the D. Um.
So that's
Yeah.
quite
There's this.
impressive.
Yeah.
So despite the blank, Brett, I think he
Yeah.
decided, right, there's no bingo here. I'm going
Yeah.
to play, you know, bow.
Yeah.
But now he's had second thoughts and he wants to
Yep.
cycle through the blank property to
Yeah.
just make
Yeah.
absolutely sure he's not missing
Yeah.
a seven.
Go through it once. Go through it twice. Yeah. They're only the other thing that would play is an Aiden. He needs an S for that. For Ubas's, which is fun.
Mm.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, so Brett is playing Bo. Yeah, there's a
S-
question of.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's a
very
good.
interesting.
Mhm.
It's interesting that he didn't take very much
Yeah.
time looking at, looking
Mhm.
comparing the different, non-bingo players, and
Yeah.
so he basically made an intuitive play of
Mhm.
Bo more or less immediately,
Mhm.
uh, and he's moved on.
Yeah. Sometimes that is a good way to go. Mhm. Mhm. It's Wiltja for Paul, but yeah, it's
So now Paul, I mean, he's
yeah,
not going to be worried about
yeah,
missing a bingo with that rack.
yeah,
So he's going to move on to see, what the best
yeah.
equity play is, and the options are obviously extremely limited
Uh,
because he's only got the one vowel, which kind of makes your life a
but
bit easier
mhm.
as a player.
Yeah,
It kind of narrows your options.
yeah,
There's not very many things to think about or
yeah,
miss.
yeah. It's either
And again, this is quite impressive. He's lined up the best play within
well,
seconds.
yeah,
Which is part of that is that there aren't many options.
yeah,
Basically, that's
yeah.
that's
There's
really
I'd
helpful.
say there's really two options
Yeah.
here, and one of them is Wiltja, and the other one is playing Jilt, making Butte, and yeah, I definitely would get rid of the W here. I guess, yeah,
The third option is
yeah,
playing Wilja without the T and not
yeah,
exposing the double letters square
uh huh,
on the northern triple. So I think it's going to be close between Wilja with or without the T,
yeah,
probably. The other kind of thoughts
yeah,
going through his mind, he's going to want to play five tiles. Keeping three consonants back is a bit
yeah.
risky.
Right.
It's a bit risky if you draw
and
badly.
and well, at least DFT is better than DFW.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the
Yeah.
downside to playing the T is
Uh-huh.
it's less
But
defensive.
sometimes you also have to realize that that might just be the best play, and if he hits if he hits something to the triple or he hits a double double, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just have to take your medicine and realize that maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's not this rack that's going to, this is not going to be the rack that makes or breaks the game, but it's just something where you want to just keep calm and
Mm-hmm.
move on. So, yeah.
So Quackle likes another candidate play which we didn't think of, which is simply playing jaw through the A of bow,
Yeah.
or which is obviously more controlled in terms of the
Yeah.
board. It's cost-less,
Uh-huh.
and
It doesn't.
the leave is probably it's possibly
It's.
slightly better, or maybe neutral.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Wiltshire is obviously extremely open.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, he's gonna go for Wiltja. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So a very good
Yeah.
point has been
Yeah.
made. We can
Yes.
infer that Brett did not have
Have
the
the
X
X. Yeah.
with his first move,
Mhm.
which makes Wiltshire marginally safer.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Brett.
moving on to Brett's rack, again, he's going to be looking really hard
Yeah.
for a bingo and making absolutely sure he's not missing a bingo.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Brett's
But
bingo knowledge and anagramming skills are extremely strong,
yeah.
so that's not going to take him long.
Yeah. That's also, I mean, he's got 5 vowels, so there are very few sevens and only a few hundred eight-letter words that actually make a bingo. And this just you can kind of probably dismiss out of hand and say, I mean, he lined up Odia already.
So again, he's not taken very much time cycling through the blank. He's decided that no bingo on this board
Oh, so
correctly, as it happens. Oh no!
no,
So
he's
he's lining up
Edam
misspelled
misspelled
edimata.
Edamata.
Yeah, he's lining up a misspelled edimata.
Ew.
Goodness gracious!
Oy. Oh yeah. So score right now is Brett 12, Paul 28.
This is all right. Okay,
Oh.
ladies and gentlemen, I think Mr. Smitheram is messing with us. He's messing with our minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps I misread the situation. Perhaps he's not nervous at all. Perhaps he's got the time and the energy to mess with the commentators.
We'll have to get the word from him after this match.
So Quacker likes Brett's play.
Yeah, Odia. I don't think. I mean, I don't think there's really.
It
you know,
scores well. It controls the board. It keeps
Yeah.
a nice leave. It's a good move.
It's
And
also there wasn't much else that he was. I mean, what else was he gonna do with that? Really, there wasn't much. He, yeah. I mean, yeah. There wasn't much that was gonna lead to anything there, and is Paul poning here?
so Paul's consonant problems continue.
Oh.
Yeah, and
So 33 for Brett, 28 for Paul.
so the candidate moves were what Paul did, which is upwind, which he played quite quickly actually, perhaps too quickly. And then Quackle is suggesting windrow through the OW of
Ooh,
Wiltshire,
yeah.
which might be a better move. It's probably
Yeah.
it scores better, and it's not less open.
Make sure that you update people on the score.
So the current score is Brett's 33, and shall we just confirm? Yeah. So yeah, upwind and windrow are simulating very closely. So after upwind, the scores are 33 to Brett and 48 to Paul Gallen.
Yeah, so Brett has arrow bat. And yeah. And Arrowbat is his highest scoring bingo. He has Abato again, and it actually plays. But
So Brett's going to want to make sure there's no double through the eye. That's his
Yep.
priority. Once he's done that, he'll move on to making sure there's this rack doesn't make a bonus with an S, hooking or no up fines, and once he's done that, he'll quickly realize that he can play
Yeah,
Aerobaton to
yeah.
make him butte basically.
Yeah.
But he in this situation with the blank, it's really quite easy to miss an 8. It's really easy. And most people, even if you're a natural anagrammer like Brett, you should probably take your time,
Yeah.
not to miss. I mean,
Now-
on this board, the optimal move's going to be the double through the eye. It's going to be that.
Aboiteau, the thing is, I mean, Aboiteau is the only thing he's got there, right?
I mean, the highest square play would be through the EL if there were a 9, but there's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking we're just talking about Aboiteau there. Surprised here that he didn't arrange the tiles to play like Tabadero as in a misspelled Tapadero, but apparently he's just gone with conventional Aerobat.
Yeah.
So
And that's simulating best at the
Yeah.
moment.
okay, so that was 75? 73, so that puts Brett at 106. Paul's got a pretty nice rack.
Mhm.
Uh, well, it looks... Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we've got, hi, it's Jason Keller and Harshan commentating on this match.
Mhm.
But, yeah. Actually, if Paul wants to get
Yeah.
in on the action, he should arrange the tiles to make Fenestra. And, oh, Brett's rack is super glitzy.
Yeah. So,
Wow,
so
I think,
So Paul's there's no bingo with that rack. There's not a 7. There are no 8s with the
jeez.
available floaters, and
Yeah.
Paul's taking his time to make sure of that.
yep.
Once he's done that, he's going to start thinking about what the best. Well, he's probably going to want to go short with this rack. Probably
Yeah.
there 2 tiles.
Well,
So he's going to start thinking about what the best 2
Yeah.
tile play is going to be after he makes sure there's no bingo.
yeah.
Quackle thinks
Looks-
it's just FA
y-
making IF.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
He
I-
can score, but it does block the board
yeah.
a little bit.
and FA will also, I mean, if he is psychic and realizes that Brett is going to play glitzier for 100 and something, FA is definitely definitely the play.
So we think it's likely Paul will play FA. I mean, it's the obvious move because it makes
Yeah.
the board amenable to the tiles left on his rack. He's
Yep.
got this on his rack.
Yep.
Reist is a brilliant leave. It's very
Mhm.
likely to bingo next
Yep.
turn. And now, actually, after FA, Brett's scoring options are really quite
Well,
limited.
Well, he still has.
Really down, he could play FAA up top, but he doesn't need to play like that at this point.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be clearly best. And Quackle agrees.
Yeah. Well, so Brett has Glitster Glitzes, which does play. Yeah. And
So Glitzier would have scored
Uh,
118 points, so that would have
Yes.
been extremely
yes.
damaging.
Well, so
Um,
does he have? He's got ZT for 52.
This is interesting.
ZITE. He does have
Yeah.
blitzed.
CIT is 52 exposed
Yeah.
to Z.
Yeah, it exposes the
Quackle
Z,
likes
but
Zig better than
yeah,
Bingo.
yeah.
Like Zag better than Bingo.
Zag.
so this
is
is a
interesting.
classic situation. So Brett's got a choice. Either he
Mhm.
can play a near face value bingo for approximately 70,
Mhm.
or
Or-
he can score with the Z and keep the blank. This is a classic
Yep.
situation,
Mhm.
and I think it's very likely he'll go for the second option.
Yeah, well, he's got it lined up. Unless he's faking us out again.
So the thought process here is: would I prefer to be? So he's after Zaid. He's
Mhm.
probably going to be up by
Uh-huh.
80. Would I
Yeah.
rather be 80 up with GL blank on my rack,
or
or would I prefer to be 100 up with
Mhm.
random 7 tiles on my black? And that's the choice
Yep.
he faces now.
Mhm.
The thing about it is Paul just fished off FA.
Yeah.
He may have hit a bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other
Yeah.
secondary consideration
Yeah.
is if Brett can infer something about Paul's rack. Brett can probably infer that Paul has most likely a balanced set of 5 single
Yeah.
point tiles or low
Mhm.
scoring tiles on his rack.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
actually, it's quite likely that Paul might bingo next turn,
Mhm.
in which case Brett might get a cheap 30-40 points in the top right quadrant or to that triple,
Yeah.
even if he misses his bingo.
Well, it's not that he's missing his bingo here. He's making a,
I'm
he's making a decision.
Yeah. No, I meant if he plays Zeit and then
Yeah.
he draws
Oh,
crap,
you mean if he misses his
and
bingo?
he
Yeah,
misses
yeah,
his
yeah.
bingo
He's
next
still,
turn.
yeah,
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 sure.
He's
Yeah.
still got
Zeit by about a point over Zag. It's
ZT.
really close.
So in terms of the simulation,
Yeah.
the top candidates are Zeit, down from just parallel to Aerobat. So that it's simulating at a 90% win percentage after 2 plies. And the bingos, glitzers, glitzed below a butte, they are simulating pretty much the same, about 90%. But the valuations differ by about 3 points. So Zeit is 78 and Glitzed is
Yeah.
75. So it's hardly anything in it. It's very, very, very close. It's a very marginal decision. And Brett.
Yeah. Score is Brett 106 and Paul 70.
So, and Brett, in my opinion, is doing the right thing by taking his
Yeah.
time over this decision. I think this is it's a really
Yeah.
tricky decision.
Yeah.
It's going to completely change the way the game goes from here.
And he's going.
and he's
going
taking
for
his
the
time.
blank. And he's
So Brett has
Yeah.
decided to go for the certainty of the bingo and the points.
Yes.
He's decided not to speculate.
Mhm.
And I think part of the reason he decided
Yeah.
that he was 36 points ahead at the time he played the bingo.
Yeah.
So now he's going to go approximately 100 ahead
Yeah.
afterwards.
So score. Yeah.
You played S or D.
So you're not sure what he's nominated the blank as, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the score's now 180 to Brett, 70 to Paul Gallen. So
Yeah.
Paul's 110 behind with good tiles on his rack.
Yeah. So he's
Can you find out what the blank is, whether it's S or D?
yeah. And we've got Garnet's grandest plays as well. And
So Paul's got a choice of bingos. So he's going to be thinking very carefully about what the board's going to look like after he plays his bingo.
Yep. Mhm.
And the reason why that's important is he's 110 points behind.
Mhm.
So even after his bingo,
So-
he's going to be behind. He needs a nice, open, volatile board after whatever he
So-
plays.
So yeah, Brett has Diastral as a double through the T. So
So the current scores are 180 to Brett and 70 to Paul Gallen.
mhm.
Paul finds his highest score to play at Grandis. Diastral still plays.
Yeah. And Argence? Argence maximizes the D,
That's where it's one less. than
rather the
Grandis.
G, right?
So the choices we have, we
Yeah.
can play grandest
Just-
through the D of upwind,
Mhm.
and then you can hook an S on the end of upwind and play things like Argents and Garnets, or you
Mhm.
can play
Yep.
play through the eye of Glitzers.
I think he wants to create
Yeah,
his own
yeah. He wants to. Yeah, I think
So
he's going for the volatile choice.
So this is an interesting decision.
Uh-huh.
The negative thing, the good thing about what he's done is he's created a hotspot in the bottom left quadrant. But
Yeah.
his choice closes off the right side of the board, unfortunately.
And Diastral comes down very quickly.
S-
So it's 86 for Brett.
So Brett's
So Brett's on 266 and Paul is on 149.
So that's just a really nice demonstration of
Yeah.
Brett's insta anagramming skills.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
he almost certainly saw
Yeah.
Diastral instantly.
Yeah.
He realized that it was a double-double, so it's
Yeah.
extremely unlikely there's another
Yeah.
high-scoring bingo on this board. Played it down, conserved his time, which he might need for
Yep.
the end game.
And
Equivalent higher scoring bingo is through the NA probably, is it not?
And underlap. I mean, it's possible. Yeah, sure,
there's
sure.
yeah.
So he's banking some time in case Paul catches up, and
Yeah.
he needs it later.
Well, they
For a
both seem to be doing pretty well on time.
OMEEMOX.
Oh, so Paul has the X, but no four-letter word.
Okay.
That.
Oh, okay, that's why I made it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
right now it is Brett 266 to
Mm.
Paul 149. Uh,
So Paul's 117 points behind. He's got
Mhm.
clunky tiles, which you can score with, but they are difficult to bingo
Yep.
with.
mhm.
So he's going to be drawn to the bottom row, and he's
Mhm.
going to be thinking, how can I score well and keep a nice leave here?
Mhm.
Essentially, that's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
He's thinking about OXO under
So,
the
yeah,
G, E, and N of Argents.
Yeah.
I think he's worked out pretty quickly that he can't. The ideal play here would
Yeah.
be a four-letter play ending under the A of Argents, and he's worked out that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
So he's rotating through the options further to the right under Argents. That's what he's doing right
Yeah.
now.
But the
Mhm.
answer is good for both of these two spots.
Yeah. He's got. Yeah. He's got.
After he plays OXO.
Yeah.
So the candidate plays to choose between that's OXO
OXO.
under the G, E, and N of Argents.
And,
And then the
and-
other candidate keeping ME, which is not the best leave, but it's a okay leave.
Yeah.
And the only thing that
And-
comes close is Remex through the R
Yeah.
of Aerobat.
and maybe Paul is one with the meme. Yeah.
Memers
But-
like this play,
Yeah. Memers like this play. Yeah. But
and now he has Euphone.
So
Euphone E.
the scores 266 to Brett, 197 to
Mhm.
Paul Gallen. Brett
Yeah.
is 69 points ahead. So he's within a bingo, so he's done a good job there.
Uh-huh.
He's
But,
within striking distance.
Yeah. Brett's lined up oof.
Yeah, nothing else comes score as close to scoring
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah. So when you see something like oof,
Yeah.
what you think is, is there a better play than this?
Yeah.
Is there a better play on this board? What could be a better play? Can I just have one last look before you commit, basically?
Yeah. But a lot of times with that, you're not going to have a much higher scoring play than that unless there's a bingo, which there's not.
So nice leave, NEE, scores
Uh-huh.
really well, and takes out that hotspot. Job done.
hmm
Imagine
Yeah.
Amy's his best player.
And well,
So one last check, because looking around the board,
Yeah.
making sure there's nothing better.
yeah.
Not playing impulsively.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, Paul just drew 3 eyes.
Power up, mine would be good.
Yeah.
Amy is better.
So Paul's got a pretty terrible rack.
Yeah. Well,
And this is, I mean,
Yeah.
as you all know, this is a familiar
Yeah.
situation for serious Scrabble players, and
mhm.
so Paul's a long way behind Brett. So Brett's
Yeah.
314, Paul's 197.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get despondent in this situation.
Yes.
It's really
yes.
easy to get despondent and to lose
And-
concentration. And when that happens, most people make mistakes, essentially.
Yes.
But as I said, Paul has an excellent temperament. That's
Yes.
one of his strengths.
This is not going to phase him. He's just
Um,
gonna find the move that he wants to make, and he's gonna make it.
30 points. But I think
Yeah.
given that he's trailing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
top and on top of the right.
Yeah. So the choices we have, we can play
Yeah.
Mime down parallel to Aerobats.
Mhm.
But that closes the board and only leaves a low-scoring bingo lane
Mhm.
further along. Or you
Yep.
can fork the board, create two openings simultaneously by playing Mamie. And I think you can see that
Yeah.
Paul's thinking clearly, despite the situation, despite his
Yeah.
terrible rack,
Yeah.
he's thinking,
yeah.
really clearly, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
If he were ahead, mine would
Yeah.
be the better play.
Yeah.
30 for that. So Paul is now on 227.
Fine. So that draws Paul. So he's approximately 90 points behind after Mamie.
Mhm.
But obviously you'd want to prefer to be 90 points behind on this board than what the board would have looked like after mine.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Without question.
Yep. So Brett's lined up Den.
So Brett's going to be
Yeah.
fairly sure there's no 7
Yeah,
or
there's
8
no
on.
7 or 8.
So he's moved on. He's moved
Yep.
on.
Mhm.
And he's going to be thinking, how can I score well and how can I close this board down? How can I control this board?
Oof. Just looking at Paul's draw. This is sort of the time where this is the sort of time where you can also very easily just think, why me? Why?
Sure.
Why?
So we all feel here that emotion plays a huge role in Scrabble. Scrabble is an extremely volatile game. The highs are as high as the lows are low.
Oh yes.
And it's really, really difficult to maintain your composure and equilibrium, with what goes on in a tournament Scrabble game. And, people with good temperaments have a huge advantage, without question. Fine. So moving on to Brett's rack, he's thinking, how can I score? How can I keep a nice leave? How can I control this board? Ideally, all at the same time. So he's he's thinking of playing above Mamie to the triple, thereby preventing Paul playing a 7 by hooking S on to Mamie. And the other options are playing above the first M of Mamie and taking out that row. And completely trying to close that would be a very high scoring. So Paul's done really well here. He's created 2 high scoring bingo lanes. So there's a difference between a bingo lane, which is a face value bingo lane, which only gets you like 60 or maybe 70, compared to a bingo lane on a triple line, which can net you 80 or 90. So for that reason, Mamie was an excellent move actually.
Yes.
I like that Brett took his time.
Yeah.
With that.
Brett took
Like,
his
he had a lot of
time
flexibility
to
about how he wanted to shape his board.
Yep.
So Brett's kept a leave of ENCE, which is brilliant because that's compatible with the first M of Mamie. It fits nicely on a board. It's neutrally ignoring the board. It's a brilliant leave. He's completely killed the right side, right top end quadrant of the board. So it's a good positional play. I mean, the score isn't great, but Brett can afford to sacrifice points because he's a long way ahead.
Yeah, and maybe he also knows that Paul's rack is that, but not really.
So Paul's got a terrible rack, 1 consonant, 6 vowels. He's going to be thinking, do I change or do I play through, basically? And if I do play through, is there any candidate play which gives me a shot at this game? That's what he's thinking right now. So he's going to be looking for a vowel dump. He's going to be looking to play at least 4 or 5 tiles. And if he can't do that, he's going to change.
Yeah.
Trading his best, but the only decent non-trade is that one E-Day to create the S-hook, which doesn't run all his evenings.
If he decides to change, then the next big decision is, well, which tiles do... so this is interesting. So I guess the choice is between keeping EI or E. So he chose to keep EI. And the reason he's done that is there's only 1 I left unseen, and it's a really consonant-heavy bag. So that's a rational decision on the part of Paul.
Yeah. I'm surprised that Brett hasn't set up his rack to spell misspelled Cayenne. But Q, I think he's just playing on the top just to take out the top row and then kill the left side that way, leaving just kind of the lanes through the G and the L. And it looks like he's being pretty
so what Brett's thinking here is that there's only 1 high-scoring bingo lane on this board. The first row above the M of Amy. He's absolutely desperate to play anything there. So his choice is, what do I play there? Do I play a long word? Do I go short? So it looks like he's not taking very much time over this decision. So he's gone for Q. Quackle is suggesting to play same place, play a longer word. Quackle is suggesting NUE, ENNUYE, which is positionally not much worse than Q, in my opinion. And actually, it inhibits the column next to a diastral. So Brett probably played that. To be critical, he probably played that move too quickly, I would say.
And we are trying to get updates on other games. We'll let you know when we have some. So, oh,
So the scores are Brett Smitheram 350, Paul Gallen 227. Paul is 123 points behind.
yes.
He's
And-
2 bingos behind. So
Good looking back. Okay. Yeah, so apparently with some of the other tables, there's a little bit of problem getting access. So we'll have scores from the other games when we can get them to you. Yeah, this looks really promising for Paul.
So
But-
Paul's close to a bingo, but he's not got a bingo.
Yep. Yeah.
Velarise through the L of Glitzers does not quite
yeah,
fit. He's going to be thinking really hard now about how to shape this board to let him bingo 2 or 3 times. That's what he's got to do to win this game. So this is a important positional play coming up right now.
I think
He's
this-
not going to be able to catch up on this board as it looks right now.
Yeah, so he's going VIE to set up knave or navs to give himself a to give himself a shot at a bingo line there.
There's 3 more R's on scene.
Yeah.
Wackel had an almost identical between Vi and Fire.
Yeah.
playing the R.
So the
Yeah,
decision
yeah.
here was to play what Paul did, which is Y, or to add on the R, and it's a pretty marginal decision on the sim. So Paul's win percentage over 2 plies at the moment is 1.3% with both choices.
And there's 3 R's
Yep.
remaining. So playing
Uh,
extra consonant actually makes some sense.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
So the trade-off there is he's more likely to bingo keeping the R, but it creates a volatile hotspot, which Brett might potentially score with to outrun him.
Brett's-
It's very close on the
Yep.
sim. Very
Yep.
close.
19 consonants and
yeah,
9
there's-
vowels remaining.
there are only 9 vowels remaining.
19 consonants and 9 vowels.
And yeah, Brett's going quite quickly here. But yeah, Henny.
Yeah.
Good score.
Blocks the board.
Blocks the board.
The only bingo line is
Yeah.
a low-scoring bingo line next
Yeah,
to the opening a triple
Well,
word score.
yeah. Other than the left side of the board,
Yeah.
but those are also
So what Brett's doing now, he's playing
Yeah.
pretty intuitively. He immediately worked out that Henny scores a lot. It does to the board exactly what he wants to do to the board and keeps a good leave, and he just went for it.
Yep. And we have a quick update. Jesse Day is ahead of Chris Light by over 50 points in their game. Now, I don't know how many tiles are back in the bag there.
Price for 44 with Vi.
So the so Paul again, he desperately either needs a bingo or a non-bingo bingo score to catch up, and he needs not one but probably 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really tough on this board, and that's Brett's doing largely. He's been controlling this board. He turned down some points to I think the
Overdraw.
right
Overdraw
okay.
by 2.
Okay. Brett's overdrawn by 2.
He
so
didn't.
I think that he's going to be turning over 4 tiles, I think.
Yep.
They came out with just overturn.
Yeah, you didn't.
Is that right?
No, he's gonna underdraw the overdraw. There's gonna be a director call.
Oh no.
There's gonna be a director call.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Does he like? Yeah. This is the sort of thing that I'm used to having as a. Oh wait, no, sorry, he didn't. Yeah.
He might not have overdrawn by 2.
He
I
got
don't-
overdrawn by. Yeah, no, he overdrew by 1.
So yeah, that was the right
Wait.
call.
Players over the rack now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yep.
so Paul's going to be thinking, how do I win this game from here? He's going to be thinking, so the lead now, he's 134 points behind. So even if Brett spares 2 consecutive phonies, Paul still needs 2 bingos back to back to catch up. That's what needs to happen. So he probably needs 3 bingos to catch up, I would say. So he's going to be thinking very, very hard. He doesn't have a bingo. How can I score decently? How can I make this board amenable to 3 bingos? And that's going to be really, really tricky.
So
Yeah.
Quackle thinks it's less than 1%.
Yeah. Is
Chance, actually, he has a 44-point price.
Yeah.
You want to swing it to
Okay,
the end,
so
many,
we've
to
got
many ply.
Brett at 385 and Paul at 251.
25 was
Mm.
So
too many here.
we did I'm
So he
looking
likes dying, dropping the
So the highest scoring play on this board is
Is
playing Grice through the Y
Grice.
of Henny.
Yes.
And that is extremely easy to miss, and is even easier to miss if you're really, really despondent about being 4 points behind. Very easy to miss. It involves a hook, involves
Yeah.
an underlap.
Mhm.
It's probably the best score. Sorry, in terms of equity, in terms of win percentage, Grice has a win percentage of 0.52% to the end of the game over many plies. And then the only other comparable move is dying.
Yeah.
So that's where are we looking? Right. Sorry. Yeah, dying through under FA and
Yeah.
to the D of upwinds.
Yeah.
And the reason that has a win
Yeah.
percentage of 0.63% is there's a minuscule chance
Yeah.
that Brett will have all consonants, and
Yeah.
he'll have to leave the G of dying open for a triple. So that's that's the very. I think that's
Not-
a good.
It's not a triple. It's
Oh no,
the
sorry,
S
my bad,
hook.
my bad. Yeah, just
Yeah.
the S hook. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that butte. It's very very tempting to want to put the Y there.
Mm.
It's very very and just try to score that way, but that's not going to help you.
I think he's thinking about dying. Wasting energy there.
The other option is to effectively give up the game and play Seiji.
Oh, he's
okay.
playing Eng.
Fine.
He has some idea of what draw he wants.
But
So
it could be.
No M.
Yeah.
So Paul is banking on the fact that
Or
Brett will be
is there D?
unable to underlap under the G of Eng, or
Yeah.
that he won't have any vowels at all, and he won't be able to play
Mhm.
something next to Henny. That's what he's banking on with that opening, which
Mhm.
is unlikely. I mean, in the bag there's 19 styles unseen, and of those 19, 3, 4, 5, 7, only 8 of the 19 are vowels, so it's
Yeah.
quite a consonant-heavy bag. But in terms of openings, Paul needs a miracle for this opening not to be blocked.
And it looks like Brett is lining up Vol to play on the N column to just shut everything down on that side,
Yeah.
which is, and it leaves him Yak for
Dying made it harder to block that spot.
yeah.
Yeah.
It Yak in that space.
Mm.
I mean, so Brett is now. Paul is at 259. Brett
Brett's
with
100% winning.
yeah. Brett has basically as
So-
long as he doesn't have.
So
some
that
sort
was actually a really interesting
Yeah.
positional position. So
Yeah.
Paul had to decide how to make an opening.
Yeah.
So dying, making FAY, would have been actually really difficult to block. The only way to block that is to play something next to Henny, and that opens the last row basically. So
yeah.
dying would have been a tricky opening to deal with, whereas Eng was relatively straightforward.
Yeah, there were ways. Ooh, yeah, Brett has Titoki lined up on his rack.
So Brett must be feeling wonderful right now, really confident. He must think that the game's in the bag rightly, and I think Paul's must be feeling pretty resigned right now. He must have realized that Brett, the scores are 412 to 259.
Yeah.
It's not I mean, it's possible to make up huge. So in principle, a very large lead on an open board can be less safe than a smaller lead on a closed board. But this is a very close board,
Yeah.
so this is the worst of both worlds. This is a
Yeah.
huge lead on a closed board.
Yeah.
The problem for him is there's only 9 tiles unseen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Bray-
absolutely.
Brett can guarantee things.
Yeah. So the other consideration is the with only 16 tiles unseen. Brett's got 7 of those tiles.
Yeah.
There's 9 tiles in the bag. Paul's not
and
going to
he's
be
drawn
able
the
to bingo twice.
Q,
He's
and
not going to be
drawn
able to
the
bingo twice.
Q. And Brett has the eyes.
So I think both players probably know that the game's over. So what will be going through their minds? They're on stream. This is the World
Yep.
Scrabble Championship.
Yep.
They will want to do their level best to play a
Mhm.
perfect pre-end game and end game and showcase their skills. That's what they'll want at this stage.
Mhm.
Having said that, there's a chance that Brett might turn
Ooh.
into the showman that he is and just show off with some flashy
Okay.
words.
Yeah.
He might rearrange his rack
Mhm.
in a amusing way.
Yep.
There's a fair chance he might
I
do
w-
that, knowing
I
him, actually.
I do want to see Titoki played, but I don't think it quite fits. I want it so badly to fit down the D column, but it doesn't quite. But yeah, some updates. Kevin McMahon has beaten Wellington 4-5-4 to 4-4-1 to advance. Jesse Day is currently up 72 points on Chris Leip, 3-6-3 to 2-9-1. And those are all the games that are still out there.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So Brett's going to be thinking about how many tiles are in the bag. So at the moment, there's 6 tiles in the bag. Almost certainly, he will not want to empty the bag. He's going to want to play either 4 tiles or 5 tiles. And he's going to be thinking, what are the best 4 or 5 tiles, 5-tile plays I can make, leaving 1 or 2 in the bag. That's what he's thinking right now.
Yeah.
He's going to be looking at the pool of unseen tiles, and he's going to be trying to see if there are any unseen 8s through the G and L of Glitzers, or any unseen 7s either side of Diastral. That's what he's thinking right now. And he's going to be thinking, how can I play 4 or 5 tiles and block all the bingos? He's looking at Tori through the eye of Diastral. Tori creates what we like to call a box, basically. So boxers are very restrictive in that if you want to play a bingo, you end up having to play a 9-letter bingo through 2 sets of parallel floaters. So they are actually a really good way of blocking a board, especially in Collins.
So what is still out there unseen?
So 13 tiles unseen. So the tiles are, I'll go through the vowels first. E, E, I, O. So 4 vowel and U, 5 vowels of the 13 tiles. And the consonants are C, F, N, Q, R, R, S, S. So they're actually a reasonably balanced set of tiles. Lots of bingos through the G and L and lots of 7s. And actually the Q is a bit of a wild card in that so the only high-scoring bingo on this board is going to be a bingo ending on the G of Glitzers. That's going to be the only high-scoring bingo. Clearing, for example. Interesting. Okay, so Brett's decided to leave that quadrant completely alone and score and play 2 tiles.
Yeah.
That's what he's decided to do.
KO.
KO.
Yeah. I wonder if that's a little. Yeah, he had
Yeah.
Yuck. I wonder if that's a little.
So that's really interesting.
I wonder if that was for the viewers.
So essentially, what this means is that Brett's giving Paul a shot at a bingo. That's what he's doing. That's what's happened. It's pretty academic at this stage because you know Brett's leading by nearly 200. Pretty academic. And also, Paul's going to make Brett's life difficult by leaving 1 or 2 tiles in the bag now. That's what he's going to do. And make him solve a pre-end game.
Yeah.
With a 9 or 8 tile pre-end game.
It does seem like, it does seem like Paul's pretty much going
decided to
drop
dump the Q. Yeah. Which is the intuitive thing to do in this situation. So he decided to play Q80 and not QY next to the Eye of Diastral because he wants that L. He wants that L for a potential 8. So Brett's drawn rubbish to keep to go with the stuff he had on his rack. It doesn't matter in this game at all. And Paul's done the ideally Paul would have wanted to play 2 tiles, leaving 2 tiles in the bag. Forcing Brett to empty the bag.
Intentionally, just to dump that rack.
Yeah.
So Brett's lining up Tituli through the L of Glitzers, which blocks both floaters and inhibits the bonus row next to Dastral.
It looks like he is looking at TT here as well.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. And yes.
Brett's probably going to be thinking and feeling, I won this game. I want this done and over with as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And let me compose myself for the
Yep.
semifinals,
Mm-hmm.
and not waste too much time playing
Yep.
a perfect
Yep.
endgame and pre-endgame, which is probably the rational choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. y- Yep. So TT for 11 points. Puts Brett on 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
So it does not look like Paul's got a playable bingo.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
Oh.
and Brett's emptied the bag.
And John's souring. So he can just go out if that doesn't get blocked.
So I know Paul. Paul, he's going to want to play an optimal endgame here. He will
Yes.
concentrate really hard.
Yes.
He'll take his time. What he's trying to do now
Mhm.
is to block Brett's outplay of souring and find an out into. That's what he's trying to do right now.
I would kind of be snickering at Paul having feces on his rack, because that's a pretty apt description of how this drawing has gone for Paul.
So Quackle is suggesting an out into of Sefer, Sefer,
Safer, yes.
next to Titi.
Yes.
Is that a championship play, by the way? All right, fine.
Yes.
And then that obviously leaves CR, and what Paul's thinking is he wants two different places to play off CR, which he does. So that's a guaranteed out in two.
Yep.
It scores well, and it blocks souring. So actually, it ticks all the boxes.
Yep.
Brett's going out first.
So does Brett have more than one out? So he's obviously got
Yeah,
souring.
souring.
Does he have another out? So
He plays safer.
so Brett's got sirloin and souring, hasn't he?
Wait,
But Sefer's going to inhibit sirloin as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So does
so-
Brett have another out actually?
um.
So he's got 6 tiles. They're only going to fit in a very limited number of places on this board. So can Brett play a 6 hooking brace?
Yeah.
So no, it does not look like Brett's got another out. He can only go out one place onto the G of glitzers things, rousing or souring. So
Yeah.
whatever Paul plays needs to block that out.
And he's played correctly.
So that's, in my opinion, that's
Yeah.
a really impressive play from
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah.
So the context for him making that
Oh.
play is that he's 150 points behind.
Yep.
In the quarterfinal of the World Scrabble Championship. He's been absolutely
Yeah. He's
bagged.
been
And he found the optimal endgame, which is extremely impressive. Extremely impressive.
Yep.
Jesse won his game.
So Jesse Day has advanced
443 to 380.
443 to 380 over Chris Leip. And so his streak continues. And speaking of American Scrabble players, Sam Rosen is on Brett's rack, making a guest appearance.
So Brett's having some fun.
Yep.
I think he's probably feeling really relaxed right now.
Yeah.
He's probably feeling really good. He's
This is mine at the
Best play,
Reuse. 35.
again impressive play. So he's not lost concentration at all,
Yeah.
despite the fact that the game's done.
Just yeah, despite the trolling. Despite the playing with us Enemata.
Yeah, 10-point plays, both the same.
Yeah, he has Crow to go out.
So Paul's trying to find the high-scoring outplay now. He's going to take his time to make sure he does that, which would complete a perfect endgame.
And Crew, that's one of the two
so
spots.
Paul's played a perfect endgame,
Yep.
which I would
Yep.
say is
Mhm.
unusual even at this level. I
Yep.
would say even in
Yeah,
annotated games at this
so
level.
491 for Brett, 335 for Paul. So Brett Smitheram is on to the semifinals to play Nigel Richards, and the other semifinal will be Jesse Day against Kevin McMahon. So we will be taking our time for lunch. We will resume at 1 p.m. BST. We hope to see you after the break.